he would go into banks, build the bank up in value and then sell it. That was his thing. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna build it up in value, turn it around, sell it. And sometimes when people go in banks, they don't care what they do. They just fire the CEO, fire the whole executive team, come in and do whatever they want to do. And whoever doesn't like it, they just don't like it because they're just trying to increase the value to outside investors. Whether that value is superficial or not, their point is to increase the value of that bank. And so my point is to make a consistent case in that you have individuals who are basically coming in, building up, making it look like something, whether superficially or real or not. But I think that this was John. I think that John is smart enough to catch on to these schemes and say, you know what? All I have to do is come in, show value, build value, and resell, right? We just got to be the middleman. That's it. We just got to do huge markups. We're going to come in, we're going to do huge markups. And that's what I'm saying. John is a negotiator. John thinks he's a supreme thinker. So as John is a supreme thinker, John is going to do things that make that. So anybody questioning John and making it seem like, hey, yo, John, I don't like what you're doing, man. I don't know if that's cool. Anybody doing that to John? John is like, you think, look, I'm a vet. I'm a veteran. My dad's a veteran. I come from a line of smart people. The lady that I'm marrying, I got her father with me. Or the lady that I married, I got her father with me. So John is very much a network person. He's very much into his network. He very much leans his worth, his value in his mind is very much dependent on the network that is around him. And John could be on the phone, man. John could be on the phone and be like, oh, yeah, man, I got a call on the other line. That's so-and-so. Hey, John, are you coming down for Christmas? You guys said you were going to be here on Tuesday. Oh, you know what, Mom? I can't do it because, so-and-so's calling me, and whenever they call, we try to be there for them. They've always been there for us. And, the kids just love them. So, we'll probably come tomorrow. John is very much that type of person to set up appearances. And he got the perfect wife in doing it because that's what Patsy was. That's what Patsy was. Patsy is more the flashy one, but John is more of the sort of backdoor flashy one. Man, if you were to go and say, hey, John, man, that's a beautiful plane, John would be like, oh, man, that's nothing. Got it about 3 years ago and, dusted it off. We put it back together, put a new engine in it. It takes this kind of fuel, got the whole filtration system and all this and that and so on and so forth. Got a new dashboard and everything and this, that, and third. We completely rebuilt it from the. Okay. Cool. No problem. But John is a guy that looks you in your eye and wants you to know that I'm the boss. I'm number one. You can't get past me. And any attempts to try to circumvent the system, I am the system. So any attempts to try to circumvent me, that's going to be a problem. That's where John is. And so I don't see any internal scheme against him, but it doesn't have to be anything big or elaborate. Just the fact that you would point out the fact that I'm doing wrong. How dare you? So there's a lot of hiding. We see evidence of John hiding something in his company. What else was John hiding in the company? And that could have been the fact that maybe GE was doing their due diligence and they were going around and maybe Lockheed didn't catch on to it until later to where they were like, you know what? I don't really like this John character, but at this point, I'm washing my hands of the situation. And so we're going to move on. But GE was like, hey, something about this John guy I don't like. We got to get him out of here. So you know what, John, we're just going to move you to consultant, kind of like if you ever heard this company reorganization kind of deal, we're just going to kind of shift you out here and you're going to come in and people are going to still talk to you. We're going to get a new CEO because we really don't trust you. Why wouldn't they trust John? But John is like, how don't you trust me? So he starts moving things and hiding things in paperwork and in files. And maybe Merrick saw some things and caught on to it and was like, hey, yo, I got to alert the system. But we don't have evidence of that. Right. And so, however, this is what John Ramsey and Don Pause seem to be suggesting or in suspicion of, that there was some sort of internal scheme. We don't know. For most of 96, John would have likely had at least some concern about his position in the company, as well as possible future financial concerns. Since John had sold Access Graphics, he was not guaranteed a role in the company. Whatever money he was paid for the company in 91, the family might have been largely spent. The family might have largely spent on the Colorado home, the Michigan home, the major renovations, and decorating both homes, boats, cars, planes, lifestyles, all of that. And so John, because Patsy she's already in there, they like to keep up appearances. I gotta make sure that I'm good. So once laid off, he would have had to scramble to find new work. Possibly he had the connections that this wouldn't have. Possibly had he had the connections, this wouldn't have been a major issue. I don't know if he did or didn't. John wouldn't have likely predicted it, but the tech bubble burst in 2000. The tech bubble bust in 2000 would have also caused financial difficulties for him, since this was the field he was in, because the money would have been lined up in the stocks. His money, the value would have been, he would have lost a lot of money. Yeah, he would have lost a lot of money, because that would have been lined up in stocks. Number one. Number two, it begs the question, what was he doing behind the scenes to where maybe he was fighting so hard to keep that job and to try to secure that financial future instead of taking money? A lot of times, I was talking to, when I was going to school upstate, and we had brought in a gentleman to come talk to us about taking a company to $1 billion. He had taken a company to $1 billion. And so we had to sort of interview him for the class and stuff like that. And he talked about what he did once he built the company up, built value into it, like we just talked about, and then sold it. He talked about the fact that he said, man, I found new purpose. I think he did that several times, and he had been doing it for years. He was a serial investor, serial entrepreneur. And so what he would do is, man, it's like, man, it's no issue, man. No big deal. Build the company up, sell the company, go into the next thing, find another company, find another project, build it up, go. That could have been John's story. But for some strange and odd reason, John was holding on to Access Graphics. And this makes me question, yes, we got to go back up to this. Did he have the connections to become a serial entrepreneur? But even more so, where did the money go, John? You could have been a serial investor, but y'all spent all the money on the house, because it's like, the house was 4 stories with like 15 rooms, I think. Like 4 stories, like 15 rooms and an elevator. It's 4 of y'all on a normal basis. Why do y'all need 15 rooms and 3 stories of real home and 1 story of basement, which y'all clearly used? So I gotta call it 4 stories. Why do 4 people who are living on the top 2 floors need a 4-story home? Why? Maybe to keep up appearances, because that's just what we're gonna go for. Don't need it, but got it. And I've now spent all my money, but it's like, that's got to cost a pretty penny. And I know you're making money, but I don't think you're making money like that. And so you spend all your money on this lavish lifestyle. And so it's like, well, I got money in the bank, but I don't got money in the bank to kind of keep this up. That might be a problem. So that further goes to my theory, and I'll close it down here, but that goes further to my theory that I think just from the jump, from the get-go, from the start, and it tells me a little bit of about how or why the case was handled the way it was handled. Very sloppy, very shady, but not so shady and not so sloppy that people can't find you out. Not so sloppy that you're not so good at hiding your tracks that people can't find you out. People can't see that, hey, there's something going on here, because his point is not to he's not a person made to hide things. And so he doesn't think about it from the beginning, right? Because he never had any plan to hide it. John was always about let the good times roll. And so when the good times stopped rolling because, you know, he really maybe wasn't a good CEO, then all of a sudden, and it's like, how can somebody run a company and be successful and not be a good CEO? It can happen. You can hide it in so many ways that it can happen. And by the time people start sending you what it might take them a long time, they don't want to just outright go, I remember this. I was talking to this one investor now. She's an angel investor now, but I was talking to her and she was upset about losing her company, and she had started a company from the ground up, and the board had pushed her out. And I think she had got a board. She had actually went and got a board, but the board pushed her out because they said that, she was a good CEO in terms of, being able to, the nuts and bolts of the company, but she wasn't a good people person. Her management style was not clicking with the culture of the company. And so they ended up pushing her out, or basically forcing her out of the company. So essentially what they're saying is that she was a bad CEO of the company. And so, but sometimes people don't make a move quickly. They make a move slowly to kind of push you out and stuff like that. And I think that may have been the case with John, that when they finally figured out, because a tiger can't change his stripes. He's not going to do it. And so John ain't going to change his stripes. He's going to sell it to you. It's going to be big. It's going to be great. It's going to be huge, but it might not last. And so I think maybe Lockheed was like, hey, yo, this dude sold us a bill of goods, and so we got to figure out how to get from under this. And maybe GE can turn this around. And so that might be the case. So now you might not have another opportunity lined up because people might know you as a fraudster around town, because like, why don't you just get another job? You know what I mean? If that's the case, why don't y'all just move back down to Georgia or move to Michigan? Y'all got a house in Michigan. Get rid of the house in Michigan and just keep the one in Boulder, or throw the one in Boulder away and move up to Michigan, or move over to Georgia. Y'all did that. Y'all ended up doing that anyway. After JonBenet's unaliving, y'all did that anyway. Why not do it now? And so there's a lot of stress around John. John doesn't really handle situations really well. He tries to act cool under pressure, but he's not really good at hiding things, right? And so that tells me a lot about John. He's shady. He does things in the dark, but when he does them, he's very sloppy. And that might tell us something about how he handles his daughter's unaliving. Right. So that's the video. And let me know what you think in the comments. Am I off? Am I wrong? Talk to me. Am I going the wrong? Am I tripping? Am I reaching? Let me know if I'm reaching. I could be reaching. I don't know. Might. But until the next time, take it easy.